Hello, and welcome to the first episode of the series. So, today we're going to be talking about identity, who we are, and who you are, and why are you, or why am I the way I am? Why are some people nice, and why are some people, mean? And that has to do with identity and what shapes our personality. Where do our emotions or our actions stem from? So, the first thing that you need to know in the process of self development is identifying who you are, why you behave the way you behave. Why do you perceive things the way you do? For you to understand that, you will, of course, have to think about what are some of the influences that shaped your personality? What have you been through? What are the experiences that you've witnessed or envisioned that led to you behaving the way you are or thinking the way you are? Why is it that some people in certain situations, they think of it in a different way, maybe negatively? And why is it that others always assume the best? Why are some people pessimistic and why are others optimistic? So identifying your personality, knowing who you are, and then sticking to that and not breaking character, regardless of the influence. Obviously, resisting peer pressure. So, for example, let's say you went through a certain situation, a bad situation. Therefore, that affected you and caused you to be pessimistic for later similar situations. Why is it that other people take that same situation positively and look at it as an experience or an event that led to them learning something new and therefore behaving differently in the future? So they're taking it as a learning opportunity. So basically stemming back to why are people pessimistic and why are others optimistic? So for you to understand that, for you to try to change or switch, making the best out of every situation, that has to do with your own self-awareness. So have you ever thought about why are you the way you are? Why do you, again, perceive or understand things the way that you currently do? And what can you do to change that? So going back and looking at all the experiences you went through in your life, some of them are going to be bad, obviously, and some are going to be good as well. That's just how life is. So if you go back to those bad situations or those negative situations that influence your current decisions or your current thoughts, how many times have you told someone, hey man, be a little bit more optimistic, don't be always so negative, take your head out of the gutter? Why is it? Why is their head in the gutter? Why is it that in every single situation there's always going to be the bad or the negative thought that first comes into mind? And that goes back to how you've trained your brain to always think about that for the first thing. The first thing that comes into your mind is always the bad or the negative thought. Maybe that has to do with you experiencing a lot of negative thoughts. So therefore, your brain has been trained to only resort to that thought for that specific scenario. And maybe it's a survival instinct, right? Some people, they always think about negative thoughts because if they assume the worst, then if the best occurs, then it's a benefit, it's a win-win, right? But if you think about the best that could occur and then the worst occurs or something negative occurs, then you obviously, you're depressed or you're bummed out. So some people think negatively all the time as sort of a defense mechanism. And that has to do with our human survival instinct. For us to survive, we must prepare for the worst and hope for the best. It's that exact same concept that you must practice in your life. You can prepare for the worst, but hope for the best, but not prepare for the worst and expect the worst. Because obviously, if you expect something, you're going to design your whole thought and all of your actions revolving around the worst that could possibly happen. Therefore, you're training your mind to always think negatively, to always have negative thoughts. And people around you are not going to like that. That's not something that would help you gain a lot of friends or, help you to get closer to people. So number one is identifying your personality, your identity, being self-aware. Why do I behave? And then reflect on that. Why did I think of that the way I thought of it? Why was that the first thought that came to my mind? How do I change that? What caused me to think of that as the first possible thought that came into mind? When you identify the reason for that thought, then you could go back and reflect and contemplate All right, so it's not always going to be the same situation or the same scenario. Maybe next time it's going to be different. So why not, again, prepare for the worst, hope for the best, and think about the best. So that's the first step, identifying why you are the way you are. After you've identified your character, stick to it. The way that you are around yourself is your actual true identity. But if you are around people, holding or a certain personality or pretending to be a certain person, and then when you're alone, you behave differently or you think differently or you act differently, then you don't have a genuine, or that isn't actually your genuine personality. So your genuine personality is the one that appears, the thoughts that come through your mind, the actions that you perform when you're alone. So after you've identified that these are the actions that shape your personality, think about why. Why is it that I think that way or do those things in that way? Great, now you've identified your personality. The next step is sticking to it. Now, of course, you would hope that you have a overall positive or good personality. Once you've identified it, stick to it regardless of the influence or the peer pressure. And people around you are going to like that. They're going to like that you are predictable, that your actions are not impetuous, that every single way you behave in a certain way based on how you think and the values and the morals you hold, you abide by, you live by. Therefore, when people think that you are predictable, they can know, for example, that in a certain situation, he or she will behave in that certain way. They will like you. They will start feeling comfortable about you because they can expect what you do. You're not going to surprise them with any out of character actions or words. So, and you will feel better about yourself. You will feel true. You will feel genuine and original because you know that you will behave based on your own personality, regardless of what. Now, of course, this might not be applicable in all situations because sometimes being yourself might infringe on the rights or liberties of others. So at that time, of course, you must acclimate, you must adjust your personality, again, to an extent where you can practice your own rights, your identity, without taking away from others' identity or others' personalities. So first step, try to identify who are you and why are you the way you are. When you've understood what shapes your personality and why you are the way you are, you'll start understanding people in a much better way. Why do people behave that way? You won't hold prejudice against people. You won't make preemptive judgments about people. Because when you understand what influences you to behave the way you do and to think the way that you do, you'll start making excuses for others. Yeah, maybe he said that because he went through a similar situation or he went through many bad situations that caused his brain to obviously always think of that as the first thought. And that's why he said what he said, or she said what he said, or he behaved the way he behaved. So if you understand yourself better, that will allow you to understand people much better as well. And next time, we'll talk about what then? After I've identified who I am, let's say I don't think I'm a good person, or I have some negative habits or negative thoughts that I need to work on. What then? What do I do then? And that'll be the topic of the next episode. So see you then. All right, it's story time. So this is the part of the video where I tell you the story, maybe from my life, from a life of someone I know, or from a life of a famous or renowned thinker, psychologist, philanthropist, philosopher. And this story is supposed to be an application of the title or the concept that I would discuss today. But before I go into the story, I just like to make one clarification, because some might say, hey, being predictable, always being transparent, being straightforward, that's not always a good thing. Because we live in a highly competitive environment right now where sometimes when you're always predictable and transparent, you are going to be outcompeted or supplanted or overtaken by other people who will exploit your transparency and your straightforwardness to their advantage. And that takes us to the story that I'm going to tell you about today. So, Napoleon Hill was one of the most famous thinkers or philanthropists or philosophers of his time. His books are bestsellers until today. And he was very straightforward and a very transparent person, yet he was successful. So by understanding people, people won't be able to exploit the positive attributes or your positive sides of your personality. So the story is, Napoleon Hill was on an elevator in a building and it got a company, and the elevator operator closed the door on his jacket and it ripped. So there was, I guess, a lawsuit, something like that, and the company, they had insurance, so the insurance company settled that he would be compensated with $50 for his ripped jacket. So he accepted the $50 and he went, obviously he didn't go buy a new jacket, he went and to the tailor and had his jacket mended. So the mending cost him about $10. So what he did was he took the remaining $40 and he wanted to give them back to the company, the insurance company, or the company at which the elevator operator worked at. They refused because they were happy to give him the insurance company was happy to give him the $50. The company where his jacket got ripped also was happy to give him the $50. Yet he was not content because he did not want to break character. And his character being is that he won't accept anything that he felt he didn't deserve. So he felt that since his jacket cost $10 to repair, that means those remaining $40 weren't his to take, even if the person that gave him the $50 was happy to give him the $50. So that takes us back to what I was talking about, which is the way you are around yourself determines your true personality or your true identity. So what he did was he tried to give the $40 back because he knew and he felt that he didn't deserve it. So that takes us to another point, which is people that are opportunistic. I gotta have a chance to make some more money, although I don't deserve it. And they eventually, that becomes part of their personality, is being opportunistic, trying to supplant, overtake others for their own advantage. But yet you don't have to do that to be successful, because many people are transparent and straightforward and do not break character, and yet they are successful. So the moral of the story is, whether or not there is a positive outcome that will depend on the action that you're going to take, if that action or outcome does not align with the identity that you have determined for yourself, then you shouldn't do it. You'll feel better about yourself, and people around you, again, will feel like you are transparent and straightforward, and they will respect you and accept you for that. So until the next time where we talk about what to do then after you identified your personality, stay curious, and I'll see you next time.